"Mom, I don't want to die in Gallatin today." Those were the last words 18-year-old Grant Solomon said to his mother on the morning of July 20, 2020. An hour later, he was dead. According to the official report, Grant was run over by his own truck and dragged down a slope before becoming trapped underneath it in the parking lot of a gym in Gallatin, Tennessee. But no one actually witnessed what happened, except for one person, Grant's father, Aaron Solomon. Aaron claimed that the truck rolled backward on its own, dragging Grant underneath. But when the police arrived, they found the vehicle parked with the keys in the ignition. How could a turned-off truck move by itself? Why were there no obvious signs of severe injuries on Grant's body? And most importantly, why did the police close the case so quickly without an autopsy or further investigation? These questions haunt Grant's mother, Angelia Solomon, and his sister, Gracie Solomon. They believe this was no accident, but a carefully staged murder, and that Aaron Solomon is responsible. Yet instead of being prosecuted, Aaron continues to live freely, while every attempt to seek justice for Grant is blocked by a suspicious legal system. Was Grant's death truly an accident? Or was it a murder conspiracy covered up by power and corruption? Before tragedy struck, the Solomon family seemed perfect. Aaron Solomon was a successful man, a well-known sports commentator on WSMV-TV in Tennessee before transitioning into finance, working as a consultant for major banks like Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch. His wife, Angelia Solomon, was a pharmacist with a doctorate degree, enjoying a stable career before becoming a stay-at-home mother to their two children, Grant and Gracie. But behind that polished facade was a deeply troubled marriage. In 2013, Aaron filed for divorce, triggering a long and bitter legal battle. Angelia accused Aaron of abusing her for years, even attempting to kill her just days before filing for divorce. She recalled waking up one night in May 2013 with an electrical cord wrapped around her neck in the bathroom, while a running hairdryer teetered on the edge of the sink. She believed Aaron had tried to kill her but failed. However, the court sided with Aaron. He was awarded full custody of both children, while Angelia's visitation rights were severely restricted. Reports of Aaron's alleged abuse were filed multiple times with the Department of Children's Services, DCS, but no action was ever taken. No one defended Angelia, except for her own children. Friends and relatives described Grant as fiercely protective of his mother and sister. He had witnessed his father's abuse for years and, as he grew older, he became determined to win custody of Gracie and shield her from the man he believed was dangerous, but Aaron wasn't willing to give up his power so easily. In the years following the divorce, Angelia was repeatedly denied access to her children, even when Grant and Gracie ran away from home to be with her. Each time, the police returned them to Aaron, despite their desperate pleas to stay with their mother. As Grant grew older, he became more aware of what his father had done. He started gathering evidence, confiding in friends about his plans to take Aaron to court, and preparing for the day he would testify against him. Grant believed that if his mother couldn't win the legal battle, he would use his status as an adult to fight for his sister's custody himself, but he never got the chance. On July 20, 2020, just an hour before his death, Grant said something unsettling to his mother. "Mom, I don't want to die in Gallatin today." No one could have imagined that just 1 hour later, he would be dead. You might be surprised to learn that Grant Solomon was not a boy who just accepted things or lived in fear. He was a man with strong determination, especially when it came to family. After turning 18, Grant decided he could no longer let his mother and sister live under the abusive influence of his father. He was no longer a weak child, and he had made plans to change his life and Gracie's. According to friends, Grant spent months preparing. He didn't just want to escape his father's control, but also wanted to gain custody of Gracie, protecting her from the years of suffering he had endured. He contacted a lawyer, gathered evidence, and began talking to those who could help him. So, what exactly was Grant's plan? He had a clear course of action. He met with a lawyer, prepared documents, and started laying the groundwork to testify against his father in court. He knew that his mother had struggled for years but couldn't gain custody of Gracie. So, he made a promise to himself that he would protect his sister at all costs, and if the courts couldn't do it, he would be the one to protect his family. But it wasn't just that. He also confided in his friends about his plans. Grant even told his mother that he would be the one to protect Gracie if he couldn't do anything else. This wasn't just talk. Grant knew exactly what his father was capable of. He had seen it firsthand when he was younger. Now, as an adult, he was ready to face his father, but something happened on the morning of July 20, 2020, the last day Grant had to carry out his plan. Before leaving for baseball practice, Grant said something strange to his mother. "Mom, I don't want to die in Gallatin today," he said. His mother probably didn't understand the seriousness of his words, but imagine this, those were the last words he said to her. Then, Grant's death became an unbelievable shock. Just an hour after leaving the house, he never returned. Grant's death is a reminder to all of us that, no matter how carefully you plan, sometimes fate can change everything. When Grant Solomon passed away, everything happened so quickly, so unexpectedly. The police quickly declared it an accident, a tragic incident where Grant's truck rolled over, dragging him down a hill. But the details of the case are not as simple as that. The more investigators dug into it, the more strange details began to surface, raising doubts about the true story behind his death. Let's take a closer look at some of the confusing details of this accident, because it's not just any ordinary accident. First, did you know that the truck was found in park, with the keys still in the ignition? How could the truck roll backward when it was in park? This is the first red flag that raised questions. If the truck was truly malfunctioning, how could it move without anyone controlling it? The answer is, it shouldn't be able to. Second, when the coroner examined Grant's body, they only found a small cut on his head and 3 bruises on his body, but there were no signs of severe injuries from being run over. Normally, in an accident like this, the victim would have serious injuries, but there was no indication of that. Grant had been dragged across the pavement, and the truck should have caused far more damage. But there was none. Third, the witnesses at the scene are another huge question mark. A gym employee reported seeing Aaron pacing back and forth on his phone, nervously calling for help, but no one else was there to assist. 3 men, supposedly construction workers, were reportedly at the scene right after the accident, but they left before the police arrived. This only increased the suspicion surrounding Aaron's story. Why did these important witnesses disappear so quickly? Finally, do you think this accident was just a random coincidence? Was Grant's death truly an accident, or was there outside interference? These questions can't be easily dismissed. What Aaron and the police are trying to cover up may not just be a simple accident. Grant's death could be a carefully planned act, and the entire incident is being kept in the shadows. These oddities can't just be a coincidence. And we must continue to investigate, because the truth behind Grant's death might forever remain an unsolved mystery if we stop asking questions. Right after Grant's death, Angelia Solomon knew she couldn't trust the legal system. The case was closed too quickly, with no real investigation carried out, and the only person benefiting from it was Aaron Solomon. But if the police refused to pursue the truth, she would handle it herself. Evidence began to surface. A report from the truck's black box revealed that there was someone in the driver's seat while the truck was moving, the steering wheel was being turned, and the gas pedal was pressed. All of this contradicted Aaron's story. But the police didn't even bother to examine the data. With every legal path blocked, Angelia turned to social media, where she found people who believed her story. Online communities launched the campaigns Justice for Grant and Freedom for Gracie, attracting hundreds of thousands of supporters. Angelia's posts went viral, accusing Aaron of not only killing Grant but also abusing Gracie for years. In the midst of the public uproar, Gracie, then just 14 years old, took a stand. In a haunting video titled "A Cry for Help," she accused her father of being a rapist and murderer, claiming that Grant died trying to protect her. Outrage spread like wildfire. Hundreds of thousands of signatures demanded the case be reopened. The media began to question the official story. In response to the pressure, the police were forced to reopen the investigation in 2021. But just a few months later, they closed the case again, still concluding that it was simply an accident. Unwilling to accept the exposure of the truth, Aaron Solomon filed a defamation lawsuit against Angelia and more than 20 others. He claimed that Angelia had manipulated her daughter, creating false accusations to profit from GoFundMe pages. Then, something even worse happened. Gracie was separated from her mother and placed into the child welfare system. She lost all contact with Angelia, just as Grant had been separated from her years before. Now, one person is dead, another is silenced, and the other is left living free. Will justice ever be served? Or will this be one of the mysteries buried forever? Have you ever wondered, when someone dies under suspicious circumstances, if the truth is really uncovered? Grant Solomon's death is one such story. Everything happened so quickly, the police declared it an accident. No one but his father, Aaron, witnessed the entire event. As a result, the case was quickly closed, and everything seemed to be buried. But, the truth isn't so easily hidden. Some time later, a report from the truck's black box was discovered, and guess what? What the black box recorded completely turned Aaron's story into a blatant lie. The black box showed that someone was in the driver's seat just before the truck stopped. The gas pedal was pressed, the steering wheel was being turned, and the truck was only placed in park after it came to a stop. Do you hear me? This means that someone was driving the truck in those crucial moments when Grant was allegedly dragged underneath. So, if Grant was truly stuck under the truck, how could he have been in the driver's seat and driven the truck? He couldn't have. But the story doesn't end there. Aaron Solomon didn't just refuse to investigate, he did something even more horrifying: he destroyed the truck. Imagine, a truck, a crucial piece of evidence, vanished. No traces, no evidence, nothing to prove the truth. The police didn't ask any more questions. They closed the case quickly, and with unanswered questions, the truth was gradually concealed. So, was this just an accident, or is there something much bigger behind Grant's death? And who was really driving that truck? The story is far from over, my friends. Grant's death will always leave us wondering, will the truth ever be uncovered, or will it be buried forever? Despite thousands of people calling for justice for Grant Solomon, his case remains unresolved. Angelia Solomon, Grant's mother, tried everything she could to bring the truth to light, from seeking support on social media to speaking out directly about the irregularities in the accident. The Justice for Grant movement quickly garnered thousands of signatures and support, but the truth remained hidden. Despite all the evidence, especially the data from the truck's black box, which pointed to contradictions in Aaron Solomon's story, the case was closed hastily. Not only was Aaron not charged, but he also sued Angelia and the accusers, claiming they were defaming him and fabricating the story. Gracie, Grant's sister, was cut off from her mother and placed into the child welfare system, a decision that raised questions about the fairness of child protection. Despite clear signs of abnormalities in the case, the legal system still took no significant action. Grant's death is not only a family tragedy but also a question that remains unanswered. Will the truth be buried forever? And if justice isn't served even when there's clear evidence, can we trust a legal system that claims to be fair? If justice can't find its way, will we ever uncover the truth?